Alright, good day everyone. This is Steve coming back and doing another video for you, aka Dreaming Crow, or some people like to say Little Dreaming Crow. I kind of dropped that little off a while ago, but I still keep it on, as some of you may know. Anyways, we're going to be talking about making the Black Scrying Mirror, and I'm going to go over some of the information here as far as like the process. I will kind of break this video up into different segments, so if you need to review a particular area, you can simply go to that segment and review that part of the video, without having to kind of scan through the entire video there. Anyways, if you are a subscriber to my channel, I do appreciate that very much. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. You do help me make the channel what it is, and if you are not a subscriber yet, I do encourage you to please hit that subscribe button down below, or it's going to be to the left or right of the video screen there. Just click that little bell, and anytime that I make and put out a new video, you'll be alerted to that. Okay, and if you do like this video, I do encourage you to hit the like button. It should be there again below near the subscribe button. Let me know what you liked about the video, or if you didn't like it, of course, you can leave that comment as well. Any type of feedback does help me out as far as content that I like to put out in the beginning, or in any of my videos. Sorry, it's getting a little late here. So, okay. So again, we are talking about making the Black Scrying Mirror. So I have my glass here already. The first section I want to talk about is materials. Okay, so the first thing you do need to take into consideration when you make the scrying mirror are your raw materials. Now, when I started this process, I started this during the new moon phase, because what I did was basically I cleansed everything using sage incense, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit during in the next section. But just to let you know, that's when I started the construction of my scrying mirror. Things you do want to take into consideration are, of course, frame, the size of the frame, the design, the material. Do you want a frame that's do you need to fit it within a certain spot, a certain space, or do you want the frame to be made out of wood? Do you want antique silver? Some people like wood, but they like distressed wood or recovered wood. There's just different things to take into consideration. Also, when you are making and getting, say, the glass for the mirror, again, you want to think about different things. Again, the size and the thickness of the glass is kind of important in some cases. But if you do get glass cut to fit your mirror, make sure you do have them finish the edges of the glass before they give it to you. That way, when you're handling it, you get it home, you don't cut yourself accidentally. You also probably want to be wearing some type of glove or material over your hands, say like plastic rubber gloves or latex gloves, something like that, as long as you're not allergic to latex, just so you don't cut yourself on the glass there, in case if they didn't finish it. Other things that you want to take into consideration for materials are going to be, do you want to add sigils to the mirror? Do you want to add runes? Do you want to add stones, crystals, anything like that? You want to go ahead and gather that stuff up as well. And I will be getting into a section on decor here, and that'll be one of the sections in this video. The other option, of course, is that you can simply purchase a pre-made scrying mirror from a shop. 13moons.com has them, so does azurgreen.net. A lot of occult sites will have some type of scrying mirror. Some will be bigger or smaller. I know that there are a lot of providers on Etsy as well, in which case, if you don't need to consider materials at that point, you simply just need to purchase it, cleanse it, consecrate it, and then keep it charged on a regular basis, and you're good to go. You can also purchase, say, a pre-made picture frame, sort of like what I did. This happens to be an 11 by 14 frame, and it's made out of wood, and this is the glass that came with it. Now the situation with this is not really a problem. You just have to be careful with it a little bit. Is that this glass tends to be a little bit thinner on, say, like pre-made picture frames. So you want to handle it with a little bit more care. Okay, other than that, it's pretty much ready to go for you. Again, you just have to cleanse it and consecrate it and do, the minimal amount of work that you have to get it ready. Finally, another option would be to purchase an actual mirror. Again, you can do this from an antique store, secondhand store, or just a department store, again, like Wal-mart or any other place like that. If you do purchase a pre-made mirror from somewhere, you're going to have to, again, not just cleanse it and whatnot, but you're going to have to remove the paint and the silver finish on the glass before you paint it. Okay, you need to prep everything. In that case, it requires you to have other materials on hand, like bleach. You're going to need some type of paint remover, a scraper, steel wool. You're going to need lint-free cloth, as well as a good amount of space, because in most cases, depending on how big that mirror is, it's probably going to take you a couple of days to go ahead and take care of everything, especially if you don't have a lot of the time commitment because you're working a lot or you have other obligations to family or something like that. You need to go ahead and set that up, and probably have it set up for a number of days. And then plus there's the mess that's going to end up happening during the process. So if you really want to go ahead and purchase a mirror and then prep it in order to use as a scrying mirror, there are instructions online. Simply just use how to remove silver from a mirror, I think is like the keywords that I used, and they'll give you like a process and what you need to do in order to remove that. Let's see. And of course, just kind of looking over my notes here really quick. Again, whether you purchase a mirror or you purchase a picture frame or an award style frame or something like that, or you purchase a pre-made scrying mirror, The first thing you want to do, of course, is to go ahead and cleanse that mirror when you get it home. Usually, as pagans and practitioners of magic, we have a tendency to grab water, grab salts or sea salt, and mix it together. And we cleanse a lot of things with water and salt. That may not be the best option depending on what your materials are, such as your frame. You can of course put that type of stuff on glass, but if you don't clean the glass off fairly well, salt can kind of leave a residue behind, and you've got to again clean that off. But the most important thing, of course, the reason why you're cleansing it is because these items have psychic fingerprints on them. They've been in the stores or the shops for weeks or even months at a time. Multiple people have picked them up, people that have been sick, and all sorts of things. So you get like a lot of psychic residue that gets on these things. So when you get home, you need to go ahead and cleanse everything. And I generally use again, sage incense for that. Also, if you purchase something like antique silver, I'm not certain what salt and water will do to something like that. You might want to test it, say, on the back side of the mirror where it's not, of the frame, where it's not noticeable. You don't want to go ahead and tarnish something, by accident, especially if you put a good bit of money into it. Also, some materials just don't stand up well to salt and water. So again, take that into account before you do that. Again, I like using the sage incense, or you can use sweetgrass or anything like that you're familiar with using, or a combination of any of those. I believe cedar would be another one that you could use. Another thing that people like to do when they're cleansing something that they just bought is, or another way I should say, is they simply like to leave these items out in the sunlight, say for several hours, or they do it for several days at a time, weather permitting, of course. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do that with this, even though it's intended to be a scrying mirror at some point, and it's going to be consecrated during the moon and stuff like that. So, for cleansing purposes, you could probably expose it to direct sunlight, if that's what you were taught to do, and that's fine. And there are other practices and cultures that do the same thing. A number of years back, I used to practice feng shui a lot, and they would tell you, well, take all your items outside on a bright sunny day and leave them out in order to cleanse them and recharge them with solar energy on a regular basis. Now, of course, once you consecrate this and it's finished being built and it's consecrated, you don't want to expose your scrying mirror to direct sunlight. Okay, you want to keep the amount of light coming into that room to a minimum. Okay. Let's see. Finally, another option you can use to cleanse your raw materials when you get them home is using the Om chant. And a lot of people, we all know the mantra Om. Okay. You can go ahead and check out YouTube for something like that. Find one that has like a good running time, and then using like a tablet or something like that. Plug your tablet into the wall and then put the mantra on a continuous playback. Especially, you might want to do this, say, like before you go to work in the morning. That way, when you get home in the evening, it's all done. The mantra Om is very useful for a lot of things, as well as to mainly to remove and even disintegrate negative energy, whether that's in objects or people. So that could be an option for you if you'd like to go ahead and do that. Again, plug that tablet in so it doesn't run out of juice while you're gone, and you should be good. Let's go ahead and I'm going to stop the video really quick, and then we're going to get into the subject of painting the glass, what type of materials you're going to need for that, and then we'll keep going with the rest of the video here. All right, be back in one moment. Alright, so we're back with the video on making your scrying mirror. And this segment we're going to be talking about painting the glass and prepping the glass there in order to get that part of the project completed. So once you get all your raw materials at home and you've cleansed everything, you've cleansed the glass for your, depending on however you want to do it. Okay, you're going to need some other materials. For this part, you're going to need a cloth that's lint-free because you want to make sure you clean the glass on both sides. Probably try to avoid using soap for something like that because you don't want to leave a residue on the glass. You're also going to need brushes. I purchased these brushes at the local, I think it was Wal-mart. You got like 4 brushes for 87 cents. Okay. Of course, you're going to be painting this black. Okay. And I did set the glass up on plastic cups that I overturned. This way, it kept the glass off of the table and the newspaper here that I've set underneath it. And this has been set up for about 3 days up to this point. I also want to point out that when I started this process of the construction process, I did start this part during the waxing moon phase, okay? Again, you also want newspaper underneath so any paint that drips off is not going to get on your tabletop or anything like that. One of the main reasons I did not put the glass directly onto the newspaper and the tabletop was if I accidentally put too much paint on there, I didn't want like a pool of paint to kind of run off and underneath the glass and then get on the other side. So that's one reason why I raised that. When it comes to paints that you need to perform this project, I used black acrylic paint myself because I do some acrylic painting on the side. I don't do very much of it anymore, but that's the paint that I had on hand. You also do want to consider things such as flat black latex paint, black glossy latex paint, black enamel paint, or black marine flat paint, or you could do the black marine glossy paint. Okay. Do understand that if you do use something like enamel does have a tendency to take longer to dry in between sessions, and you want to kind of allot for that. When you paint this, you want to go ahead and give it a good coat the first time. let it dry at least a 12-hour period before you apply the next coat. What I was doing with this was I painted it. I did the first coat at nighttime when I got home from work, and then the next morning, about 12 hours later, or 10 hours later, really. After I got out of the shower, that's like one of the first things I did is I came over and I applied the next coat of paint on there. And then I left for work, and then when I came back, again, another coat of paint. Total, I put 4 coats of paint on this up to this point, and I'm not really going to be adding any more to it. You do want to consider the idea to do not use spray paint for this part of the process. I know you're going to probably research something like this online. A lot of them say, yes, grab a can of black spray paint and, go ahead and spray away. The problem with black spray paint is that it coats unevenly sometimes, it drips, it pools in certain areas, and you want to avoid that. I would just recommend using the brush, like a foam brush, like one of these, and you would do fine. I would avoid using like a bristle brush just because you don't want those bristles to come off onto the glass while you're doing that part of the process. Also, try to avoid doing this outside. Okay, you don't want to do this part of the process, say like in a windy area outside. You don't want to do it in a garage where it's dusty, anything like that. If you're outside, the wind might pick up dirt or small debris, and if that lands on the paint, that could have a tendency to show up on the other side of the glass when you go do your scrying sessions. Try to avoid doing that. Do it inside somewhere, especially a room that has good ventilation, and you should be fine. Also try to keep pets out of the area. You don't want to be getting like pet hair on the paint at all as well. Let's see here. And you also do want to try to avoid touching the mirror, testing it to see if it's dry, the paint's dry. If you're not careful, again, those fingerprints can sometimes show through on the other side, and you don't want to be like conducting a scrying session, having like a giant thumbprint like in the middle of your mirror. That just kind of throws everything off at that point. So try to avoid that. As long as you're giving it at least a good 12 hours of dry time in between, you shouldn't have to go ahead and test it by touching anything at all. All right. And with that, we're going to call this part of the video done. I'm going to jump in really quick to doing talking about decor really quick, and I'll be right back with that part of the video. And just one moment. All right, folks. This is Tribune Crow coming back, and I'm continuing the video for creating a Black Scrying Mirror. This section is going to be regarding decor. If you'd like to go ahead and make place any type of decor on the mirror or the frame particularly. If you are interested in adding decor to your scrying mirror, of course that is totally your option. Just be sure that the decor isn't a distracting element to you when it comes to you performing your scrying session. A lot of people like to put the sigil of the moon, say like on the backside of the sometimes a glass, but typically it goes on the backside of the actual mirror, like the actual frame itself. Like you could do it like on the backside of the frame if you'd like, anywhere around there, or even the cardboard piece that fits along the back in order to keep the glass in place. You can put that sigil there if you'd like. You could also end up using other types of decor, placing runes along the outside edge of the mirror, or crystals, stones, any type of other symbols that may have meaning or significance to you are also an option. In addition to or an alternate, I should say, to the sigil of the moon, is you can use sigils of, say, other spirits, demons, angels, anything like that would be totally up to you. And again, just make sure that when you put it on there, I know I just said this like not even 30 seconds ago, but make sure that it's not distracting being on the mirror frame. You of course want to avoid putting anything on the glass, such as stickers or anything like that. Try not to put any decor on the glass, if at all possible. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the next section for consecrating, and I'll be right back. Okay, folks, and continuing with our Black Scrying Mirror construction, we're going to talk about consecrating the mirror at this point. Once you've completed the entire construction process and the mirror gets assembled and whatnot, you do want to go ahead and consecrate the mirror at that point. If you don't have a consecration prayer for this or any type of invocation, you can simply search the internet. There's plenty of consecration rituals out there for a variety of reasons, including consecrating scrying mirrors. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a couple of options, and then of course, if you don't want to do any of those, that's totally up to you. Or if you do want to, again, totally up to you. Now, first of all, if you're, say, a demon altar or left-hand path, one option, of course, is to invoke a demon, and you can ask that demon to consecrate the mirror for you, just as you would if you were invoking a god or a goddess. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a couple examples here of who or what you might be able to use. You can also do your own research and find out if there's any other options out there. So the first demon I would end up recommending is Astaroth, and Astaroth does come from the Ars Goetia. She is a demoness, and a demoness of divination in particular. Okay, she does also help people find friendship and love as well. But demoness of divination is one of her main duties or abilities. Astaroth is derived from the Phoenician goddess Astarte, of course. And Astarte is the equivalent to the Babylonian Ishtar, or the Sumerian Inanna. And Astaroth, notably, is, of course, the 29th angel in the Ars Goetia. Okay, and moving on, I just want to add in Azlyn. It's spelled A-Z-L-Y-N. From my personal experience, I don't have too much information on this demon, other than the fact that it's a demon of divination as well. Okay, as far as what book that demon actually appears in, or if there's a sigil for that demon or anything like that, I'm not very much aware of it. Again, I'm just trying to be upfront and, regarding that information. I've looked over the internet and I've checked a couple of my books, first reference books on demons and demonology. I really haven't found any information on Azlyn, but if you do happen to be watching the video and you do know a little bit more about Azlyn, I would totally appreciate it if you could put a comment in the comment section below. If there's any particular place you could recommend for me to go look up that information, I'd appreciate it. The next demon I would recommend would be Della Pittore. Again, Della Pittore is a demoness of not only magic, but also divination and ascension onto the demonic plane. Della Pittore does appear in a number of books, especially the book by Stephanie Connolly, The Demonologist's Guide to Demonic Magic. That would be one place that you could get their sigil in order to make contact and ask, hey, do you want to go ahead and consecrate my mirror for me? Okay. Finally, I'm going to go ahead and suggest Satan, okay, as another option to invoke during the consecration process. And the reason I chose Satan is because he is used basically in all things. He encompasses all things. He influences all ritual types. Plus, in Left Hand Path, if you are familiar with casting the elemental circle in demonic magic, Satan is one to represent the element of spirit. He basically holds the circle together. Again, invoking Satan with his N is probably not a bad idea to use him for the consecration process. Of course, you don't have to if you don't want to. And another notable mention I'd like to add also is, and don't confuse this one with Satan, because they're going to sound familiar, or similar, I should say, but this is not Satan whatsoever. The spirit is Sastan, that's spelled S-A-S-T-A-N, okay, and is a spirit of divination, and this particular spirit appears in E.A. Koetting's work, I believe, the second book, Works of Darkness. If you're familiar with the book, that could definitely be another spirit that you might want to use for the consecration process. Finally, if you are familiar with the 72 Angels of Magic by Damon Brand, there is the angel Eshaliah, who is the 47th angel. that angel is the angel of divination, and invoking them to help with your consecration is, of course, an option as well. Also, you can invoke any god or goddess of divination that you'd like, based on your tradition. As we know, the moon is generally associated with goddesses, but there are a few moon gods out there. I want to say that that might be in the Egyptian mythology, if I'm not mistaken. You have a couple of moon gods there, but generally the moon is associated with a goddess. And finally, you can simply invoke the essence of the moon in order to consecrate your mirror at that point, rather than you use an angel or a spirit or a demon. And with that, let's see here, just going over my notes really quick. And it looks like with that, this is going to be the end of this section of the video. Again, this was a section on consecrating the Black Scrying Mirror. So we are going to jump into the charging session. Okay. And with that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here, and then we'll get started back up in just a moment, all right? Good afternoon, everyone. This is Steve, doing the last part of the making the scrying mirror video. Before we jump into that, I want to go ahead and add a little bit of detail onto the consecrating part of the video that I did not add in last night. Okay, when you consecrate your Black Scrying Mirror, one thing you want to do is you want to make some mugwort juice or mugwort tea. Just buy some mugwort from your local occult supply shop or order some online. There's plenty of places you can get it, azurgreen.net, 13moons.com. Lots of places, obviously, to get herbs online. You probably need, really just for the purpose, you probably just need about 2 or 3 tablespoons or so. Go ahead, boil some water, put the mugwort in the jar first, of course. Make sure it's a clean jar. Boil some water and then pour it over the top of the mugwort. You pretty much just need enough water to cover above the herbs, more or less, and kind of pack that in there as best as you can. Fill it up, let it steep for about an hour. You can put the lid on it. Once you put the hot water in, but don't tighten it too tight, okay? You don't want to make a vacuum seal and then pull it out and say like a steam burn or something. Just put the lid on securely or kind of loosely and let it sit for a while. Come back, and then you want to run this through, say, like a coffee strainer or a cheesecloth or something like that. So dump it out into a new jar, get all the herb out of it, and then you're left with that tea, that mugwort tea. And then, of course, you want to go ahead and use it to wash the glass on the scrying mirror. Now, this is mine. I have not really charged this yet, okay? But again, this is 11 by 14, I did use some Gorilla Glue to secure the stones here. I have 5 moonstones throughout, along with 4 obsidian, aqua blue obsidians, and then 4 labradorites, and 3 iolites, okay? You can use any kind of construction glue that you might be able to get like in the craft store. I know some people that use the E6000. That's pretty good as well. The Gorilla Glue does work if you get the type for crafts. Just put a good amount on there, and figure out where, like, place your stones first is what I would do, without putting the glue on. Just figure out where you want to put them at, and then make sure that they sit well in that position. And then with each stone, just pick it up, add a little bit of glue on there, put it onto the frame, and then press it down firmly, and give a little bit of time to dry. All right. I did that earlier, and then I thought, okay, well, this is going to be dry after like 10 minutes, and a couple of my stones fell off. Obviously, the bigger ones you're going to want to give a little more time for, but some of the smaller stones, they should secure pretty well. All right. So once you clean the glass with the mugwort, you want to go ahead and charge the mirror. Okay, you want to do this on a regular basis. Some people think that consecrating and charging are the same thing. As I said before, to a point, when you do consecrate it, there is a type of charging done there. But this is something you want to take care of on a monthly basis to make sure that the energy in the mirror stays full, if you will. And so in order to do that, a lot of people, they simply just go ahead and place it outside during a full moon, let the full moon shine down on it and let it absorb some of those moonbeams, and that's one way some people like to charge their scrying mirror. That is, of course, fine, of course, weather permitting. But if you can't do this because of where you live, say you live in an apartment complex and you can't leave your mirror outside for whatever reason, or the weather doesn't permit, you can place the mirror, say, in a window. If you're able to look out the window and you're able to see the full moon and the moonlight is able to come in, you can place it in the window like that and absorb some of those moonbeams. That is a second way of charging your mirror. And another option for you is to do what is referred to as a Pillar Rite, and I'm going to talk about that really quick. I'll try to do a separate video on the Pillar Rite just to kind of cover what it is. It'll be kind of short, but right now I'm going to kind of introduce it to you here right now. And basically, a Pillar Rite, what it is you're going to set up a series of candles or crystals. Right now I have mine set up with candles, but I do have a shipment of quartz crystal generators coming in, and I'm going to swap those candles out for the crystals in a couple days here. But it's going to be in the shape of, let's see if you can see it pretty well. Mine is in the shape of a hexagram, okay? And each of these cords are 18 inches long. That's the size I cut them. You can make this generator out to be as big or as small as you want, okay? I just chose the size of 18 inches because I was going to want to be able to fit my mirror in there, on a regular basis. But I did purchase paracord from Wal-mart. I think it's like $2 and you get like 18 feet of it. You can find it in the craft section. And so I, again, set it up, and I set votive candles at each point. And so what's going to happen is that you can do this in a pentagram if you want. Okay, obviously you could do a pentagram, then you're only going to need 5 candles and 5 holders. Okay, and then typically what you would do is if you have something to be charged, like a talisman, or a sigil, or anything like that, so like a mirror, you can go ahead and place it inside the pillar here, and I'll explain to you how that typically gets used. Okay. Let me run over my notes here really quick. So, again, I chose the votives. If you use, say, you could do this with taper candles if you like. That's fine as well. Some people, rather than taping the cord to the tabletop like I did, will tie the cord around the base of the candle holder. And again, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. If you want to use string, paracord, twine, some people use sewing thread. That's totally fine, just as long as you maybe have a visual representation there. But once you have it set up, okay, you want to visualize the pillar operating. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to light all the candles. Okay, and then you're going to visualize literally a pillar of energy coming up through the floor and going up into the ceiling. Okay, and it's going to basically encompass the hexagram here, and then just leave your objects that need to be consecrated there. Typically 3 days. You could do longer, and this Pillar Rite, I'm trying to remember where I found it from. It might have been somewhere online. Anyways, there's numerous ways to use this. You can actually use this Pillar Rite if, say, you were a left-handed path practitioner and you wanted to find a way to hurt somebody. You can simply put an item in here that you want to charge over a period of time. You can do it, say, up to 30 days. I know some people who do have pillars set up all the time in their house and they're always charging things. I know one individual that has a pillar and a Pillar Rite going all the time, and he's been known to charge it for, in order to do cursed items. And if he doesn't like you, he will take one of those items, and you would just think it might be a small trinket. He'd give it to you as a gift, and then that would be, his connection to you. As long as you kept that, that would be his connection to be able to send cursing energy out towards you, and that's one way that he does it. Okay, I don't want to go into that detail right now because I'm trying to focus just on the scrying mirror. He's telling you that there are various ways to use the Pillar Rite. Okay, so you do want to light the candles and visualize that pillar of energy. Okay, once you do that, you're good to go. You can pretty much walk off, and the Pillar Rite's going to go ahead and charge your item. Now, the problem with this, and this is why I've ordered clear quartz crystal generators, is if you're in a home and you have pets, this could become a fire hazard. And of course, I always try to tell people, and if you're a practicing practitioner, you should know, practice fire safety. Okay, first and foremost, know where your fire extinguisher is, or if you need to get a hose, because something has caught fire, make sure you can grab one of those 2 items. Okay, that's why this is just temporary for right now. But practice fire safety first and foremost always. And that's, again, my reason for wanting to get these crystals in as quickly as possible. I believe that should be here Monday or Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, once you light the candles, again, you're good to go. And then, of course, as the candles burn out, if you're intending to leave an item for charging, say over a period of 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever, you're going to have to change those candles out. So you can see where this is going to get costly, if you're always having to burn candles every day. Again, my reason for getting these crystal generators in. A lot of people aren't going to have the money in order to burn 6 candles every day. So, for the period of a week. So just something to think about. Again, I'll try to get a video on that done shortly, just to talk about the Pillar Rite, again, how to perform it and what it can be used for. But I just want to give this as an option for you if you want to go ahead and try it out. Okay. If you do want to use, say, crystal pyramids, say the clear quartz crystal pyramids, you can do that as well. The only thing I could see with the pyramids is if you use them, first of all, they could be kind of expensive, depending on how big you want to get them. But the problem with the pyramids that might be an issue at first is you would have to set them up so that they are on exact compass coordinates. Okay, you want to make sure that each side of the pyramid is facing the appropriate direction. You don't want to have too much deviation there. You just have to kind of imagine that. I mean, think of the pyramids of Giza, okay, and how they've been constructed. They sit almost on, with such a small fraction of error, they sit on exact compass coordinates, with each direction facing, you have one direction facing north, south, east, west. Okay, in order to get that charge and the energy from the pyramids, you want to make sure that you're going to follow suit with that. So that's just something to take into account. The nice thing with the crystal pyramids, though, is, again, if you get the bigger ones, they're fairly heavy. Once you set them down into place, they're not really going to shift around, which is a good thing, unless if somebody comes by and picks them up and starts asking questions. But once it's set up, you shouldn't have any problem with keeping it going for however long you need. Let's keep moving forward here. And again, you can put anything in there, stones, crystals, anything that needs charging on a regular basis. And then, that's done like that. So, really quick, when you set up your charging station, if you decide to use a Pillar Rite, again, once you visualize that pillar of energy coming up from the floor going into the ceiling, you do want to make a statement of intent as far as what you want how you want that charging station to function. The other reason why I would suggest something doing like this is, I'm a big user of EM Sounds and some of my work as well, is if you wanted to charge your mirror or anything else with planetary energy, okay? And by that, folks, I'm talking about, you get your tablet, you hook it up, so this way that way it's not going to power down on you in case if the battery drains on it. Okay, and then I would suggest you go to YouTube and look up NASA space sounds of the moon, say in this case if you were charging your mirror, or if you wanted to charge crystals with, say, Mars energy, then you went look at NASA space sounds of the planet Mars, and find those EM sounds on YouTube, and make yourself a short playlist. So that way, if you decide that you want to follow through with this Pillar Rite for any type of charging reason, and say you go ahead and use crystals as opposed to candles, all you need to do is put the items in here, set your tablet off to the side, and then pull up your YouTube to the playlist with whichever planet that you want to go ahead and play. In this case, let's say, EM Sounds of the Moon, and then put it on continuous playback. Okay. Just do a quick search for something like that. You're going to find some short videos that usually run between 15 and 20 minutes long. But you should also get some of them pulling up that say like 1 hour, 2 hour for, I think there's a couple for 8 and 12 and 24-hour periods. So just find one that can be set for like a long time, and then that way you just leave your tablet playing while you're away at work. And that EM sound is going to be generated through your tablet, and it'll go ahead and charge whatever you have in the station. So that is a good idea, folks. Don't like throw that out just because you think it's weird and you haven't tried it yet. It does work. Okay. And let's see. I've already mentioned about that. I can use different planets for that, and making a playlist. And one final thing you do want to do, folks, when it comes to your scrying mirror, once you're done using it, you want to make sure that you cleanse this after each session. Okay, even if you don't use it, if somebody else uses it, you want to make sure that you're cleansing this. So you get your smudge wand, get your sweetgrass, your cedar, your sage, whatever it is that you end up using, and smudge this. Okay, you want to kind of clear away all of the psychic residue that that person may have left on your mirror if they've used it, if you allowed them to use it. Okay, and you want to do that after each session, because what you don't want is to come back at a session later in the week, do another scrying, and then get jumbled images from your last scrying session in with your current one. So kind of cleanse everything, and then you'll be good to go. Just do that again after every session. Okay? And I think that we are about done. Make sure you keep the mirror covered. You don't want direct sunlight on it when it's not in use. If it's not going to be hanging on the wall, you want to go ahead and cover it with, say, like a black cloth, and put it off somewhere where it's not going to be damaged by anybody or any pets or anything like that. So with that, we are done with the video at this point for making your scrying mirror. If there's any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section below. Let me know if there's anything I can answer. If you have any suggestions or you need a little more information, I'd be happy to go ahead and provide that to you, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and get this video loaded up to YouTube so that my subscribers and anybody else who wants to see this can go ahead and review it. And with that, folks, I bid you a very fond farewell. Have a great day. Eternal blessings. Bye.